What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into Coffee with Brodes. What's happening? It's a Monday. It's another week. We have to attack the fucking week. That's what we do, and that's what we're going to do. So what did we miss over the weekend that we have not discussed yet? Well, the Philadelphia Phillies split against the Braves. That's totally unacceptable. The Flyers just continue to make splashes, and I'm truly excited to see where their season goes from here and what Chuck Fletcher does next. And the Eagles signed Steven Nelson, which I'm going to do a podcast in its entirety at some point today. I have your anytime hotline calls already locked and loaded. You can call in if you have not at 856-442-9805. So I'm going to do a whole show on what this means for the Eagles and how big of an addition it is. But before we continue the conversation, let's drink a nice cup of coffee here, huh? Let's take a sip of this fat fucking cup of Joe and enjoy our week. Oh, that is a beauty. That is a beauty. What's going on, everyone? What's up, Amadeo, Jonathan, Gabriel, DJ, Christian, Sports? What's up? What's up? What's up? Do I think the Flyers are still in the mix for Eichel or Tarasenko? No. No, I think that's pretty much all said and done with. You don't really have the financial flexibility to make a move in that type of way. What you basically have left is Sanheim, Carter Hart, and then hopefully the backup goalie is in play. Not hopefully, that is. But hopefully you can find yourself either another forward or a defenseman that you can land as well. So in terms of the big dogs, in terms of the big guys, no, I don't think you're in the mix for any of those. It's pretty much all business now with getting your RFAs finished off, Sanheim and Hart, get your backup goalie, and then target either a depth forward or another defenseman. So that's basically where you're at. I don't really have I saw Bernier, right? Wasn't that a name I think I saw flying around there? They're all in that same type of tier to a degree, though. You know what I mean? Like, they're just veteran backups who can log in some minutes for you. And Chuck Fletcher made it pretty clear with the Olympic break in the mix. You know, the season is condensed. On top of getting back to an 82-game regular season, there's a lot involved. So you're probably going to see a backup goalie, even though Carter Hart is your number one. You're going to see your backup goalie being utilized because of the circumstances and whatnot. So, you know, they're all in that same tier, though, in my opinion. None of it is anything different than anything else. Like, they all kind of fit in that same mold. What moves do the Phillies make this week? This is from Brian. I don't want them to do anything. I don't want them to do anything. I don't know. You know, I had Scott Lauber on the show, covers the Phillies for the Inquirer. I had him on the Fanatic yesterday, and he said that just based off of what Dave Dombrowski has been saying, well, your fourth and fifth starters, if they can get you 5 innings and you have a deeper bullpen, then you're going to be in a better position. And, you know, it seems like what he's saying, if you're taking context and plucking it out of Dave Dombrowski's comments, maybe they go in that direction of really bulking up the bullpen, which makes their starting pitching not much of an issue because you're just basically filling those holes out with bullpen pieces. Maybe they go in that direction. Craig Kimbrell's not only here for this year, but for next year as well, which is going to be significant for us talking about the Phillies bullpen down the road. But, you know, I hate this team. I hate this team with a burning passion. Everyone thinks there's still a chance and they stink. They stink. You can't split. Look, when we looked at this second half, we said it was an easy schedule. Why? Yankees aren't very good. Braves are not very good. You're losing 2 in a row to the Yankees in a 2-game set. You're splitting the Atlanta Braves. That's part of this second half being easy. The Braves are not good. The Yankees are not good. Phillies are losing to these teams. You have to be legitimately winning series. You have to be compiling a lot of wins in a row and then attacking the New York Mets, who are in first place in the NL East. These are the type of series that you have to win. And it's like, well, how do you expect them to win with Matt Moore and Vince Velasquez? Exactly. That's my point. These players have to pitch 3 out of the 5 days. Nola and Wheeler, okay. And you get lucky to get a Nola performance like you did last night or yesterday afternoon. That hasn't been the norm this season. So you're right. How do I don't, which means they're not that good. They're not that good. No, I have not gotten sucked back in. I've tried to tell everyone, watch yourself during that stretch right before the All-Star break. When it was the Marlins series where they won 3 of 4 right after the All-Star break, there was about a little bit of me that got in a little more than I wanted to, but I knew this was a joke. I watched 70 games before that. It was 78 games to be exact, because they were 44 and 44. That's 88 games into the season. But it was that 10-game stretch that got people all juiced up. I'm like, did you guys watch the previous 78 or what's going on here, right? Like, did you not witness that? Did you not see that? It's crazy. I think Aaron Nola heard the comments that you said about him and decided he's not messing around anymore. It's one baseball game. I mean, the reaction to it, the overreaction, I think is absurd by the Aaron Nola stands. It was nice. He needs to do that. We know that's in him, though. He's very capable. We've seen him in years past do that for 6 straight outings. One outing isn't going to be good enough. Now, is this the turnaround? I hope so. I hope this is the Aaron Nola. I love that Aaron Nola. That was a masterful performance. That was incredible. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed every damn pitch, the curveball, the swing and misses, getting ahead of counts. I mean, that was a beautiful outing, and we know that he can do that. I want him to be able to do that. But we can't act as if one outing now takes away from the 5+ ERA that he's rocking with. Jonathan says he has no idea why Vince is still on the team. I'll tell you why. Spencer Howard can't play. Nick Pivetta can't play. Like, these guys that are supposed to move someone like Vince Velasquez either out of the franchise or in a long reliever role where that's actually what he does, and he doesn't bounce around between spot starts and maybe a bullpen piece. They all have flopped. They all have not worked out. The players that were supposed to actually be successful and move Vinny V out of town have not been successful. Therefore, he sticks around and has over 100+ starts. I mean, it's sickening to think about how many times Vince Velasquez has started in this franchise. It's a joke. Thoughts on the Eagles contending for the division? It's funny how time passes and now everybody feels that they're in this thing, when after last season it was they basically won't win one football game all season next year. They're going to win 2 football games if they're lucky all year, and now all of a sudden we're in the conversation of winning the division. What are my thoughts on the Eagles winning the division? I don't think that they're going to do that. No, I don't think they're going to win the division. Is the division going to be good? I have no idea what to expect from this division. If a healthy Dak Prescott is there, I don't anticipate the Dallas Cowboys having as disgusting of a season defensively as they had last year. So, I mean, I think they're the best team in the division when healthy, the Dallas Cowboys, that is. Does that mean they're going to win a bunch of games out of the 17 games? Not necessarily, but no, I don't. Is it going to be the Phillies kind of thing where they're in it because the division stinks, but they're not actually very good, but that might give you hope that they can actually contend for the division? I guess that's probably the best case scenario. If you're looking for any way for them to be in contention, yeah, it's probably because there's not going to be teams that run away with it and so elite and so lethal that there's no way in hell. So just by default, maybe you're in there, but no. I mean, I see this as a 6-7 win football team. That's really where I see them at. Carmen has low expectations, but we can take the division just because it's a weak division. Is this the Eagles or are we talking the Phillies? Because we can literally apply this to both teams, and I don't know which direction you're taking this. So, Carmen, are you referencing Eagles or are you referencing Phillies? It is pretty damn funny, though. We've never seen this head coach. He's never called one play in his entire life. We went 1-3 with the quarterback last year in a 4-game sample size. Now, there's a lot in play here, right? Offensive line health. Devontae Smith actually running the football. A defense that I actually I like. Now, there's 1-year deals involved, but Anthony Harris, Steven Nelson opposite of Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox getting back into the slot. There's a lot. There's a lot that changes for sure. I'm excited about Jonathan Gannon, but I just don't know, right? Like, saying they have a chance here is just really saying it just to say it. It's putting blind hope and blind optimism out there without truly knowing anything, because we haven't seen the scheme. We haven't seen the coach. We don't have a track record to even base this coach off of. So, it's kind of hard to make an assumption when you don't know too much. Carmen says the Eagles. Yeah, it's hard for me. That's all. And it's funny to see how everything has changed so dramatically. I mean, really, you're talking about the end of last year. This franchise is never going to win a damn thing again. Howie Roseman needs to be fired off into the sun. And now all of a sudden, those same individuals, and I'm not specifically saying you, Carmen. I'm talking more in a broad sense. Those same individuals who felt that way about your general manager, Howie Roseman, now feel that he's built something that can contend for the division. So it's just kind of funny to me. That's all. Kevin thinks Washington has a chance to. Now, Kevin Wood says, I think Washington has a chance to run away with the division. I don't think anyone's running away from anyone. Do they have a chance to win the division? Do they have a special front four? Can they do some damage in that area? Yeah, absolutely. Could they win the division again? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone is in the mix to win the division at this point. That's what I can say. But run away, I don't see a situation at all where one team straight up just runs away from everybody else. Now, when thinking about these divisions, though, every year there's a squad that you don't anticipate having a good season, or there's something that happens in a division that you don't see happening, and then it shocks the world and shocks everybody. So everything is on the table, right? There's always that team that's fourth in their division, and they end up being first. Or they're fourth in their division, they end up being second, and they're playing in a wild card game. I mean, it happens all the time, right? I mean, your strength of schedule changes because you're playing teams that were at that level the previous year, which can totally impact the way that your season plays out. There's so much that can happen. So everything's on the table. But what up, Philly Mike? What's happening, bro? Still falls on Jalen Hurts and Sirianni. But all the things depending on health, we upgraded a lot more than people think. Yeah, but that would mean Howie Roseman didn't do as bad of a job as people thought, right? I mean, that's my point here when I look at the extreme difference where you're right. They did upgrade in some areas, and health is huge, specifically on the offensive line. And yes, the quarterback and head coach is going to be a very strong when it comes to the outcome of the season. With that said, though, if you're talking about upgrading in a lot of different areas and saying that they got stronger in a lot of spots with this roster, that means you have to tip your cap to Howie Roseman. And I don't know if people are willing to actually make that statement at all. Yesterday on The Fanatic, I started off my show by saying, does Howie Roseman deserve some credit? Now, the problem is, to a degree, you start the fire, you put out the fire. Do you get credit for putting out the fire when you were the one to start it? I get it. It's not easy. That's a very difficult thing to kind of come down on with an opinion because, yeah, I mean, you did start the mess. You cleaned up the mess. Do you get credit for cleaning up? It's hard. It's not easy. But there's something to be said, Philly Mike, about, what you're saying here. Love your stuff, though, man. Love the content. Love the content. Dusty says Fitzmagic's always good for about 5 wins. Love the guy, but if Washington's going to win, Fitz has to be a good manager. What do you mean he's good for about 5 wins? I mean, I'm not telling you Fitzmagic is amazing, but I think he gives you a little bit more than a 5-win type of season. Let's look at his, especially with that defense. Yeah, no one's telling him to light the world on fire. No one's telling him that he's got to be Aaron Rodgers in his prime. What's going on here? Oh, I typed in the wrong dude. I typed in Ryan Fitzgerald, who plays in the NHL. And I'm like, why can't I find any statistics? I guess it's so hard to really tell because of him being more of a, like a spot starter and whatnot and things of that nature. But I guess you're in that range. I mean, it's more in that range than it feels. You know what I mean? Like you think about Ryan Fitzmagic, and he definitely feel more than 5 wins. But if you do look at some of his stats, 6-10, 6-10. Now this is back in 2011, 2012. He has kind of hit that journeyman mark. He's 38 years old. It's just crazy to think about. In 14 games, he had 4 wins. Why is this number in this on the stat sheet like that? I guess you're probably right with that 5-win assessment. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Oh, yeah, no doubt. Well, yes, that's what a journeyman does, though. No one expects an elite quarterback out of Ryan Fitzmagic. Of course, journeymans have the great starts that hold themselves in the league, and then they have the ugly ones for sure. But it felt more than 5 for sure, just based off of gut feel when you made that statement. It's like, yeah, it seems a little more than 5, probably because of the damage he does specifically against Jim Schwartz. That puts me in a mode where I think that, he puts that type of content out there for everybody. But yeah, I guess you're right. It's about that 5-win territory, but it feels way more than 5. I'll just be honest with you. It feels way more than 5. I like the Steven Nelson signing. How can you hate the Steven Nelson signing? I'm kind of holding back a little bit on some of my thoughts just because I want to tease a podcast that I'm going to probably record late afternoonish. So maybe by tonight it'll be uploaded. I hate to do that, but I do want to get some content out there and then provide a little content later on. I don't really know what to tell you about this Deshaun Watson thing. There's so much legally going on that I don't have the information for. So I'm not going to sit here and speculate. Now, I've been on the record saying if things work out for Deshaun Watson and things, end up not being what they seem to be, and somehow it goes in another direction and it's not as brutal as what it seems to be right now, and he's available, and this legal stuff gets behind him and he moves forward, then yeah, I'd be more willing to have the conversation. Right now, though, I can't sit here and act as if I have enough information to literally say, yeah, I'm willing to give up 5 draft picks, 4 draft picks, 3 draft picks for someone with all these legal issues. Is Howie Roseman involved? He's always going to be involved. They like Deshaun Watson. They have a lot of assets. They're going to follow the situation to see how it all plays out. But other than that, nothing really has changed in those regards other than he's keeping his fingers on the pulse. He's keeping his eye on the prize. He's seeing what's going down. But, I don't know. This is, not your standard, do you go get a quarterback? There's a lot of legal problems in here. And if things end up moving forward, he pays his time, he's not guilty. I mean, there's a legal system for a reason. That all has to play out. If it works out and he's back and football is what he does and he moves forward, then yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to give him an opportunity here in Philadelphia if the Eagles are willing to take that chance and move forward with him after the legal stuff ends up going down. Now, that's a big part of this, though. I don't really have too many. I'll be honest. I really haven't checked it. I actually do, and I don't know if many people know this, though. I do follow skateboarding to a degree. I'm not like, insane diehard. I can't miss anything. If I don't keep up with it live, if anything, I'll go back and watch certain events that I missed and whatnot. But skateboarding was in the Olympics for the first time. So I did catch some of the big names out there like Nyjah Houston. I guess that's my answer. My favorite Olympic sport in the summertime is skateboarding because that's kind of what I enjoy. And for hockey, yeah, for winter it's hockey and it's not even close. For all of Olympics it's hockey and it's not even close. But I do follow the skateboarding a bit. So no, I don't personally do it. I did when I was younger and I kind of follow it and it's kind of my off to the side. Yeah, I've hopped on the board. During quarantine, I was so damn bored and I wanted to go outside to the point where I did end up getting a board and I kind of went back at it. Did my kick flips, did my heel flips, just some flat ground stuff to get outside because I didn't know how long we were going to be trapped indoors for. So yeah, I did. I did do that. But yeah, I kind of keep up with it, I keep up with Nyjah Houston. I keep up with Uragome. You know what I mean? I do. I do. Carmen, morning. Seems you have 2 Carmens following the pod. Yes, 97.5. That's correct. You called yesterday. Thank you so much for that call, Carmen. I appreciate that. Yeah, the screener put Connor on the screen, but it said from Texas, and I'm like, I don't think this is Connor from Texas, but I'll say it just in case it is. I kind of figured it was you. Thank you so much for calling in. Building around Embiid, but didn't hear you reply because the call dropped. Yeah, I mean, once we got to yeah, it's it's just the business of having to move along. If there's a break I have to get to, the caller ends up getting dropped and things of that nature. But basically, what I was saying after that was, I don't know if building around Embiid, I know in theory that sounds like what you have to do, but there's an element to it where you need shot creators late in the game. And I don't know if you can do that with a 7'2" guy where you got to work out by the perimeter. You got to watch Chris Middleton in the way he was making buckets, Devin Booker in the way he was making buckets. Can Joel Embiid do that? If you work around Joel Embiid and you put spacing around him, who's getting that late bucket shot for the last 6 minutes in a row? I don't think it could be a 7'2" body frame guy. You need someone who can work from the perimeter out to create his own basket. And I don't see Joel Embiid just dribbling isolation from the perimeter, from the three-point line for 6 minutes down the stretch, trying to go bucket for bucket. That doesn't mean you can't utilize Joel Embiid. Of course you can. But building around Joel Embiid, I don't know if that is the best way to do it. I just don't know. You need a legitimate player, perimeter player, who can go ISO, who can get his own bucket at will. If you build around Joel Embiid, do you get that? I mean, if you can, yeah. If you in your mind can build around Joel Embiid and get you your isolation player for down the stretch moments, then yeah, I mean, sure, then we can say build around Embiid. But if you mean you're building around Embiid and he's the closer, then I think you're going to have some trouble. Alex says, do you think that because Embiid is a big man, he can be the best player on a championship team? Or do the Sixers need a better or similar caliber superstar to play? Yeah, it's the nature of the position. It's not a knock on Embiid, but we just witnessed how this works. You got to go possession by possession, create your own bucket, create your own shot. It's not something that you could sustain for a 7-game series for 6 minutes at a time down the fourth quarter minutes. Like, it's difficult to do. It has nothing to do with Embiid not being able to do it. It's very difficult. Imagine putting your back to the basket. Think about an isolation player facing the basket, being able to make their own shot and dribble one-on-one and create that separation, compared to Embiid getting set, getting his feet where he wants to, backing down, back to the basket, and now a team can bring help. Now a team could bring some pressure. Now the D can maybe go baseline and force the ball out of his hands, and now you're kicking it out where, you're getting a different shot. You're not getting that bucket getter anymore, and that changes a lot. It just changes the way that you operate down the stretch when your back's to the basket compared to facing up and creating the separation yourself. So we can welcome Bradley Beal. I would love to have Bradley Beal. Zach wants to know about my thoughts on Team USA. I really don't have any passion or emotion towards Team USA. Quite frankly, I really don't care about Team USA basketball. And I love this. You don't love your country? No, I love my country. I love my country. I don't care about Team USA basketball, though. I just don't care. I don't have the passion. I just don't. It doesn't make me a bad American. Brodes would give up 3 first-round picks as a peer to be Texans asking price for Watson. I wouldn't be interested. But what is your take? So, I mean, it all has to do with so I can't do this, but if there were no legal problems and you're saying for that player, would I give up that package? Yes. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Would I give up 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson outside of legal problems? Absolutely. Throw in the legal problems. I can't do that right now. That has to be figured out. That has to be squared away. There has to be a determination on what's going on with him first from that angle, and we need to see what everything is prior. Talking about player for that compensation, no doubt about it. Now with all this drama, though, and all the issues that he has individually as a person, I have to wait to see what's happening before that. So if we're literally talking about just would I do that if he's coming here as a player and there was nothing tied to him, then yeah, no doubt I'd be doing that. I'm not afraid of that package for a franchise quarterback at age 25, 26 years old. Of course I would do that. His legal issues have to be squared away first. No, I would not give Ben Simmons a chance if he switches shooting hands. What are we talking about here? A 25-year-old NBA player with 5 years of NBA experience changing hands? I mean, really? I'm going to sit here and say I have to now wait time for him to change hands? That doesn't happen overnight. That is a huge process that takes a player time to develop, and it's an issue, right? Like, you don't just snap your fingers. Imagine me trying to teach you how to write with your left hand. First off, I can't even write with my left hand, but just imagine doing that. You think that happens over one night? You think that happens over 5 hours, or is that a journey and you need to put in the time and effort and all that for it to actually happen? So now I got to wait, another 5 years for Ben Simmons to change hands? No, thank you. Yeah, what up, Pat? You watched the UFC events this weekend? I'm gonna be honest with you, for the UFC people out there. Bad, 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 bad scorecards. Bad scorecards. In 2 fights. In 2. Not only the main event. I thought Sandhagen won. Should have been 3-2 Sandhagen. Bullshit. Dillashaw did not win. But who was the other one I'm thinking of? Barber. Get the fuck out of here with that scorecard. Get out of here with that scorecard. There were 2. 2 I was disgusted with. So I thought Sandhagen got totally hosed. Like, the theory I heard was he was on his heels because Dillashaw was bringing, he was in the pocket and he was being aggressive. But the counters that Sandhagen brought, I mean, they were squared up in the face. He was waiting for Dillashaw to throw. He might have been on his heels, but he was tactically on his heels. When he was on his heels, he countered every single time. He countered every single time with punches square to the dome. Awful, awful scorecards this weekend. Look, I do my research. I don't play around. I do my research. When I say I want to get into a sport, I don't just half-ass it. We get into it. Now I'm looking forward to the next event. Looking forward to it. He was doing it. I mean, it wasn't just bullshit, though. Like, he was legitimately timing these counters, though, beautifully. Like, I get it. When someone's kind of applying the pressure and they're being more aggressive in the pocket there, it looks bad. It's a bad look when you're on your heels, but you got to look at the damage that was done during those moments. Dillashaw's eye was cut in half. Well, yeah, it was that cut right inside the nose that got busted, and you saw the blood just dripping through his eyes. Yeah, I don't think he deserved to win. And unfortunately, I was listening to a lot of people talk about that fight afterwards, right? And it was basically saying, like, oh, Dillashaw looked great. And because he hasn't fought in a couple years, he could be in the mix for that title shot. And I'm like, look, he lost. I mean, think about if that scorecard went right. You'd be talking about Dillashaw like, oh, I don't know. I mean, he came back and he lost that fight. Now, granted, it was a good fight. It was a very talented fight where both guys gave us what we were looking for. It was extremely fun. It was extremely engaging. But people are talking about this like he was so damn excellent and so damn lethal. I was so surprised with how great he did. He lost. I mean, he lost. He lost. And if the scorecard was right, the narrative would have changed insanely with the snap of a finger of, I don't know if Dillashaw has it. So because the scorecard was wrong, you're now looking at it as, well, Dillashaw, he didn't miss a beat. But if the scorecard was right and actually properly was scored, the narrative would be, I don't know if he still has it. And now he gets a title fight? I don't know. It's a little strange. I'm interested in storylines and how quickly they change. Connor does not want Watson. Okay, I can get behind not wanting Watson. I'm not going to push back on anybody who feels that it's, not the best move. I totally understand. I'm trying to figure out this, something on my phone. Sorry. Getting a little sidetracked here. Anyway, back to the comments. I have to disagree with that. More to the fight than just Dillashaw Shilla. No, I'm with you, but I find it like I always do this with the NBA Finals. If the Suns win Game 2, right, and they go up 2-0, oh, the Bucks are never going to be able to win. How are they ever going to win? Well, give them a chance to play at home. Like just because the Suns win, the storyline gets exaggerated. I just find storylines exaggeration as something that intrigues me as a sports fan. I always like to see how far people go after one event. And look, Dillashaw is hanging in there with arguably the best person to contend for a title. So there's something to that. But I like to look at headlines, storylines, exaggeration after one moment and see how people apply that emotional moment towards, what that means. And I think it's just taken a little to the extreme. But I also heard this take too, which is probably more where I sit. When you think of Dillashaw in the past compared to now, and I'm not going to act as if I went through this whole UFC experience prior to him and the 2 years off, because as you know, I'm very raw to this. Maybe in the past, it was more of Dillashaw, big drop off in this weight class. He's now just in the mix with others in this weight class. It's no longer, him, then everyone fighting to get to him. He's just in that grouping of everybody else. So sure, he could do it, but so could a lot of other people's, and there's not as much separation between him and others in the weight class. Yeah, no, I that's definitely, I can absolutely agree with that assessment. That's fair. That is a logical one that I can support for sure. Okay, so getting back to what are we going with here? The Deshaun Watson, the Texans won at least 5. Well, that's what you say, but that's not how this works, right? It's negotiations. You come in with 5, then Howie Roseman comes in with 2, and then you meet somewhere in the middle with 3 and some other pieces. I mean, it's just no one's actually going to pay 5 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson right now. That's obvious. I don't think there's anybody who's going to pull the trigger on something like that. So, no one has to get worried like Howie's just going to be like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Here's 5. Yeah, don't worry about it. Here's all 5 first-round picks. No one's going to actually do that. Connor continues on. It says it's just a drama fest and Philly doesn't need any help in that department. You're not wrong. That's definitely something that naturally happens and is always going to be a constant theme. So you're right. There is an element to it's reality that you're going to get it inevitably. Why add to it? Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot, and it's something that is toxic for sure. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough because the talent is there, but there's so much stickiness involved that I need to see legal things play out way before I even go down that road. But I don't believe that any of this is anything new. Adam Schefter saying what he said the other day on the John Kincaid show on 97.5 The Fanatic, or any of these people making statements on national ESPN broadcasts or anything like that. It's nothing new. They're saying what we have been talking about for a while. Howie Roseman is having his eye on Deshaun Watson. Howie Roseman has the assets. The Eagles have the assets to do it if they wanted to do it. That's not saying the Eagles are doing it. That's not saying they are going after him. That's not saying they definitely are making the trade. It's just Howie Roseman has interest at the quarterback position in any year, in any draft, in any spot, ever. That's not breaking news. We saw that with the Jalen Hurts pick when you had Carson Wentz. The Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman, they have draft picks. Okay, that's all that was said. But because, well, we do what we do, it's Howie Roseman, do you make the trade? Do you not make the trade? That's not what anyone was really saying. It was Howie Roseman has his eye on things, monitoring the situation, as he does about basically every situation, and the Eagles have assets. Now, you put 2 and 2 together, that doesn't necessarily mean you're making the trade. It's just, it's there. It's there. What's up, Sean? What's going on? With the Steven Nelson acquisition, should I look to obtain Super Bowl tickets now, or should I wait? Howie Roseman made another good move. Who's going to say that? Who's going to give Howie Roseman the credit for signing Steven Nelson? I don't think a lot of people. Mr. Dugas, excuse me, loves the Steven Nelson signing, as do I. As do I. I love it. I'm a big fan of the signing. What's more likely, Ertz getting traded during training camp or him being on the roster? Getting traded. I love that people were just going like, oh, he's back. Let's bring him back, baby. We got two tight ends. No, no, no. You report to training camp because you don't want to get fined $40,000 every day. Just because he's showing his face, you knew he was going to show his face. He wasn't going to not show up at all. He was going to show up. You're not going to get fined that much money. So it's nothing other than I don't want to get fined $40K a day. You know? It's just that simple. He's not coming back and playing all these snaps. I think you're getting way too far ahead of yourself if you think Ertz is just going to like be back and everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Let's just go play ball. No, there's a reason why this has been going on. There's a reason why there's a lot of drama here. There's a reason why he was sitting on the end of the bench and he was soaking in all of those final moments at Lincoln Financial Field. Like, I'd be stunned if he was playing football for the Philadelphia Eagles. You watch Deshaun Watson show up at training camp. Why do you think that is? Because he's ready to play for the Houston Texans? Absolutely not. He's made it very clear he does not want to play for the Houston Texans. Well, then why is he showing up? Because of financial circumstances, because of not getting fined. Yeah, exactly. It's all financial. Do I believe that Howie Roseman's overhated? Yes. The Eagles have been one of the most successful teams over the past century, despite mass injuries every season. Or do you think the hate's justified? I think there's reasons why frustration is okay. Does it go overboard? Absolutely. The same people that claim that he stinks and he needs to be fired now feel the Eagles have a chance to compete for the division. Every year entering a season, us fans feel that there's an opportunity to compete for the division. That's not the case in every city. That's not the case for every franchise. He does not make every perfect move. He makes mistakes, just like every other GM. If you go through the wins and losses, not record-wise, I'm talking about draft picks, hits and misses there, good seasons. You go through all these other cities, and you'd be seeing the same exact thing that you see with Howie Roseman. You just don't care about that, but I get that. My point is you're going to have a GM that comes in next, and guess what? He's going to miss on draft picks, and he's going to make mistakes, and he's going to make salary cap issues, and it's just how it works. You think there's a perfect GM out there that makes no mistakes. With that said, all good things do come to an end. There is a time eventually where maybe Howie Roseman does end up needing to go, and maybe that time is near. You know, I'm not claiming that Howie Roseman deserves that job forever. There should be pressure on that seat. It should be a bit of a hot seat because just because you've had success in the past doesn't mean you're necessarily doing all the right things now. And as of late, it's been worse than what it was in the past under Andy Reid. So there is that impact to this as well. How much did Andy Reid do? How much did Howie Roseman do? Right now, how much is Jeffrey Lurie putting his impact and his fingerprints on things that's limiting Howie Roseman from doing the job that he wants to do? So unfortunately, there's a lot of murkiness involved, and there's a lot of ugly black clouds surfacing the entire Eagles organization where we can't truly separate who's doing what throughout these last many years and throughout the decade. But at the end of the day, you can't lie that the Lurie Roseman era, whether you want to say, well, they only won one championship. Yeah, I got you. You are in legitimate contention for the most part every single year since they have been together. So there is an element to that. Real question. Does Carson Wentz blow up Indianapolis? No. I think he has a good season. Carson Wentz is not what he was last year. Is he what he was back in 2017? Probably not. But he goes from MVP to the worst season in NFL last year, like the worst quarterback. There's an in-between here. You don't just go from MVP to you don't remember how to play football. So there's an in-between here, and I think the comfortability of Frank Reich, just a new city, pressure involved, different team, everything surrounding that, you'll see a bounce-back Carson. I'm not telling you a MVP. Oh, you meant blow up as in good. I'm sorry. The way that you worded that, I thought you meant blow up as in, bring in the turmoil and blow up the organization like what happened here in Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, I think he'll have a strong season. However you want to define the word strong, I'll leave that up for interpretation. But my strong would be just a solid, good season. You won't be talking about him like you did last year. You might not be talking about him in an MVP race, but he would have a good season that can win you a division. Like, I truly believe it. Let's say, hypothetically, right? Let's say you're on a team that wins 11 games. Let's say they win 11 games next year for the Colts. You got to keep in mind, too, there's that extra game. So that's kind of throwing off the way that we hear 11 wins in years past. 11 wins this year is a different category for sure. But let's say you win 11 games next year for Indianapolis. And last year they won. How many games did they win last year? 11. Say they do that. I'd say that's a good season for Carson Wentz. Not anything outrageous. I'm not telling you 13 wins, 14 wins, a crazy ride. I'm not telling you 9 wins either, though. 10, 11 wins, solid season for Carson Wentz. Yeah, I agree, Zach. A new start, new city for Wentz is definitely going to be big, and I think he's out to prove a lot for people, for sure. Would it be? How would it be to be able to trade across sports? Trade Ertz for Portland? What do you mean? Like you can trade Ertz for Damian Lillard? That would never work. I don't know where you're going with that one. Yeah, I did. I thought that I mentioned this a little bit yesterday. I don't know. I mean, I thought Drew was wrong, to be honest with you. And I thought Sam Carchidi did everything right in response as well. I'm a big Drew supporter, as you all know. I believe in Drew as the captain. He's not in a spot where he should be stripped of the C. But if Chuck Fletcher's asked a question and Sam Carchidi just says Drew will remain the captain per Chuck Fletcher, and Drew says, "Good scoop, Sam. Good scoop." It's like he's doing his job. His job is to say what the general manager says to the public. He's reporting on what's happening. I did not like Claude Giroux's response, to be honest with you. Then Sam Carchidi, I think, responds perfectly. Hey, Giroux, your own general manager is the one who said the leadership group needed to be changed during yesterday's news conference. He's not wrong. He brought it up, hence someone naturally asked if you would remain the captain. That's the context. See, coming from a journalistic point of view, a media member point of view, Sam Carchidi is not doing anything wrong here other than stating what the general manager had to say. He's got a point. Now, I don't think Giroux should ever be questioned of the captain. That's my personal opinion. With that said, the general manager saying multiple times that there needs to be some more leadership involved, and I wanted to bring in more leadership guys, that opens the door for the question, which I don't believe was an outrageous question based off of what we've heard to this point. Nothing the media did was wrong. I thought Claude Giroux was a little bit wrong, in my opinion, but it is what it is. It's not anything crazy. It's not a wild story. It's not anything that's going to ruin Giroux or change anything. It just, I thought that it was probably something you just let go. But it is what it is. All right, so Alex is trying to get new into hockey. Can I put the state of the Flyers in the NFL or NBA teams? Because I'm about to start getting into hockey. I need to know where they're at. Okay, so it's a little different, though, because, being mediocre, if you're the Sixers, right, and you have Andre Iguodala as your guy, and you're the 8th seed, you're stuck. You're stuck forever. In the NHL, you could be the 8th seed to win the Stanley Cup. So they are mediocre. They make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, miss the playoffs. They are kind of flopping back and forth, but they do have good seasons. 2 years ago, they were 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. They lost in Game 7, just like the Sixers did. They lost in Game 7 of that second round of the playoffs. They were 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Finals, but then they end up flopping the following year, and they sucked, quite frankly. But what they did this year, though, is they made major moves. So there's a ton of excitement. Imagine the Sixers moving on from Ben Simmons, acquiring a Damian Lillard, and think about the excitement that's involved with this new upcoming season. Is Ryan Ellis, Cam Atkinson, and Ristolainen the same as Damian Lillard? No, it's not to that tier, but they did enough where it sparks a huge energy, a huge facelift. I would say if you're thinking of the NFL, they're a competitive team, but they're not in the upper echelon teams. Hmm. What type of team are they? I'm looking through. This is tough. This is tough for the NFL because the Vikings? The Vikings? Because usually the Vikings have stellar years, right? If you go to let's go to the Minnesota Vikings record, like their team record by year. Maybe nah, I think the Titans are a little too good right now for me to do that. But the Vikings go 7-9. The year before 10-6. Then they go 8-7-1, 13-3, 8-8, 11-5. That's perfect. I think I nailed it right on the head. They are the Minnesota Vikings. Back in 2017, we know how this ended. 13-3, and they lost in the NFC Championship game. 8-7-1 the following year. So they fell a bit on their face. Responded with 10-6 and made the playoffs. Then they fell on their face and went 7-9. So it's flip-flop, great year, bad year, great year, bad year, great year, mediocre year, great year, mediocre year. That's basically where the Flyers are. So the Minnesota Vikings is basically the Philadelphia Flyers. No, I would not have liked if they stayed with last year's divisions. No, it's time to get back to reality. It's time to get back the actual seasons, the 82 games, the play more than just your opponents that you saw in your own little division. No, let's get back to reality. Let's get back to reality. Last year was brutal, Brodes. I kind of forgot about that with all the new moves. Oh, last year was terrible. Last year was terrible. Atkinson, Coots, G as the top line. No, I think it'll probably be, how about Joel Farabee, Sean Couturier? I don't. Can you maybe you put Joel Farabee on the second line? You know, you're gonna flip, you're gonna move things around. You know how Alain Vigneault does it. Doesn't matter what you say is going to be at the start of the game. You're gonna mix up lines in the middle of the game by the second period. Could it be Farabee, Couturier, Atkinson, and then Giroux, Hayes, Konechny? How about that for a top six? Or you could flip flop them: Giroux, Couturier, Atkinson, Joel Farabee, Hayes, TK. And then what would you have after that? Would it be Scott Lawton, Oscar Lindblom, or JVR, Scott Lawton? You know. Yeah, Allison would be a fourth line player, though. You're right. I agree that he does deserve a shot, but if he'll be fourth line, you know, I'm not liking this. What would that third line be? Who am I missing for that third line right wing spot? You have JVR, you have Scott Lawton. Who am I missing maybe for that right? I mean, Oscar Lindblom's probably going to play third line minutes. If I'm being, if I'm being honest with ourselves here with this lineup, which it's an okay third line, but then who's your fourth line? Your fourth line is really the bottoms of the bottoms. Albay, Kubel, Allison, as you alluded to. And who would center that? You thought it would be Bunneman? Is Bunneman still in the mix? I thought he was an RFA, but maybe I read that wrong. Is Connor Bunneman an RFA? Connor Bunneman. Contract. Baczynski? Yeah, see, I don't like that. That fourth line is ass. That fourth line's ass. I hate to break it to you. Albay, Kubel, Lazinski, and Allison, nah, that's a bad fourth line. You got to if you're Chuck Fletcher, you got to find another forward. You got to find a guy that you could rely on. Like, I hate to say that it's got to be a player like this, but there's an element to this where I believe a player like, and it's funny because if you go back at the time, oh yeah, Morgan Frost. Morgan Frost is a name that we totally forgot about. He wouldn't even be fourth line. He'd probably play third line. He'd probably be third line where you could play Morgan Frost, Scott Lawton, and JVR maybe as a line. So that I would like that as my third line more than I would like putting Morgan Frost on the fourth. But maybe he's not ready. If he's not ready for that role yet, then maybe he does get some noise and just his legs underneath him as more of a fourth liner. But maybe I do like that. Yeah, he said maybe defense, though. He's got pretty much room for one more. So he said maybe a defenseman depth, which I think you still need also. I think that there's a hole defensively as well, just thinking about the depth department. I think there's an element to that. But, yeah, you need another forward as well. Do I think Cam York can be on Cole Caulfield's level? What, two different positions. One's a stay-at-home defenseman. Stay-at-home defenseman's not fair. A sound defenseman is more what I meant to say, because he can definitely produce offensively. So I'm not limiting him to stay at home, but he's a sound, structured defenseman is what I meant to say there. Cole Caulfield's a legitimate sniper. So just in terms of their respected field and what they can provide for their identity, yeah, I mean, I think that you can see a legitimate role for Cam York as he continues to grow as an NHL defenseman. Yes, I can see him as a top 4 guy. Yeah, see, that's not good, though, right? Like, if Moran is your 6th defenseman, I hate the defense core. I do. If Cam York and Justin Braun are your 5 and 6, that's probably the best case scenario based off of what they have, but I don't love that. I don't love that. No, I agree. I don't think I had Colby Cohen on yesterday's show on the Fanatic, and he mentioned that, look, it's not easy. You need to really bank in on making sharp 3-foot passes, 5-foot passes, 8-foot passes to really prolong your career, all those little things. And it's different. Pro hockey is not the same as playing NCAA at Michigan. You know what I mean? It's such a big jump. And granted, he did all right in those 3 games, and it's not a big sample size, and the intensity wasn't there at that point. You kind of knew that it was a wash of a season, and everybody's somewhat thinking about the offseason at that point, and you're ready to move on and make some major changes with your franchise. But there is this, growing process that Cam York definitely still has to fill out. Nah, I'm not a big Sam Moran guy. I mean, when you're at the point in the NHL, and I respect his journey and everything he's been through, but when he's a forward, he's a defenseman. Can he do this? Can he do that? At your age, you don't change positions like that. I mean, we're talking about the National Hockey League, right? I mean, I respect the journey, but I almost look at that as somewhat of a spit in the face almost. I really do. And I don't want to take away anything from the emotional journey that he's been on and the adversity that he hit. I mean, it's one of those pure sports moments that you really do respect from all of the adversity that he has faced. But you don't start changing your position this deep into your National Hockey League career. I mean, you just don't. Would I draft Cam York or would I draft Cole Caulfield? I would draft Cole Caulfield. I think that there's more to that sniper that you need. You need a goal scorer that's game-changing. I'm not discrediting the value of a top 4 defenseman, and I believe that Cam York is going to set into that spot eventually as he grows. Not right away. It's going to take time for that to definitely develop. But, yeah, I mean, I do see him being a legitimate player that you rely on, and he's going to help with your franchise and be a key contributor. So I don't think he stinks, but there's something to be said about those game-changing forwards too that is important. And if I look at where both of them fall on the list, while Cam York is still going to be a special talent, I believe Cole Caulfield is in his respected position, in his respected field of goal scoring. I think that he's just better than what Cam York brings for his defensive abilities. Yo, what's up, TH from the 203? What's happening? I don't know what's going to go on with Tony DeAngelo. I hope he gets another opportunity, though. I hope he gets another opportunity. Will the Sixers trade for Dame? Who do they give up to get him? They're going to try. Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle. I mean, nothing's changed, right? Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, draft picks, and Ben Simmons. They're going to do everything in their power, Mike, to try and get Damian Lillard. They're going to attempt. They're going to swing. You know that they're going to swing for the fences, and Daryl Morey's making every phone call that he possibly can to check in on Damian Lillard. Does that mean they land Damian Lillard? I don't know. I don't have that information for you. But I do know that they're going to try. That's all I can ask for is them trying and putting out the best package that they possibly can. I think they're both there. They both have a similar package, which is going to be Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, and draft picks. So all those options are on the table. That can acquire you a Damian Lillard that wants out of town. That can acquire you a Bradley Beal that wants out of town. They have the package. I mean, it just comes down to what's Washington willing to do. Are they willing to go in another direction? Do they get a better package? I mean, they have something, though. The Sixers have something. So it's possible. I disagree with you, Tom. Every sports name is stupid. We're talking about the Philadelphia Flyers, the Phillies. Every sports name's stupid. It's just new. That's all. Like, you're just uncomfortable with it because it's different. If there was a team called the Cleveland Guardians that happened 50 years ago, you would just look at it as the Cleveland Guardians. It wouldn't bother you at all. All these sports teams are dumb. They're dumb. They're dumb. It's just new. Yeah, the Browns. Literally. The Browns. That's dumb as hell. It's a fucking color. The Browns. The Suns. I mean, come on. Anyone who's that outraged by it is like, I don't know. I'll put my emotions into a lot of other things. Yeah, the Washington football team. But yeah, I mean, that's a little different, Mike, because they changed their name because of the same problem, and they did not pick a team name. So that's a lot different. Okay, Tom, you've been on my nerves in the past, so it's pretty simple for me to do what I need to do. But yeah, anyway, I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out on Coffee with Brodes today as we are reaching 10 o'clock. Thank you so much. We're ready to enjoy another week. What I need, though, is another cup of coffee. I'm going to make myself another cup of Joe. We have a lot of things to do today. I will have we have the Phillies game, right? We have the Spencer Howard's on the mound. So we have the Phillies tonight against the Washington Nationals. It'll be interesting to see how they respond with their 49-49 record. We have that. I'm going to do at some point, probably later in the afternoons when I'll record this. So maybe it's up later on this night. But we have a Steven Nelson podcast to do. If you have not called in yet, there's been a bunch of phone calls in the hopper, but I'll leave the Anytime hotline number in the chat down below. There you can call in to the Anytime hotline to leave your thoughts on Steven Nelson if you would like to for the podcast later on. Thank you, guys. I'll catch you later.